All right, we'll call to order the September meeting of the City of Florence Design Review Board. First matter of business before us is approval of the minutes from the meeting held on August 12th. Minutes were provided in advance. Do any of the board members have any additions or deletions? All right, hearing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, minutes are adopted. First case before us today is case number DRB-2020-13. This is a request for a certificate of appropriateness to permit wall signage at 116 South Irby Street, tax map number 90168-02-027. The property is located in the H1 Historic Overlay District. We'll take staff's report.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Let me share my screen here. Is he going to let me? It says host disabled screen sharing. This is the case of the Securitas sign at the corner of West Evans and South Irby Street, and this is the one that we looked at back in May and gave the I'm sorry. There we go. There we go. And back in May, the applicant asked for time. Is it showing up?
Give us one, bear with us 1 second, folks.
There we go. Thank you. I'm sorry. This was the wall sign, and it is made out of a durable banner material. And at the time, the board gave the applicant 120 days to come up with a permanent sign for this location. And the applicant, Mr. Crossland, has requested that instead of a single permanent sign, that he be permitted to use these semi-durable signs for a period of time until it starts to look worn, and then replace it with another one, similar to what the She Magazine company did with their non-durable sign that they changed out every month with the each new cover of the magazine. So this does not meet the type of building sign of panels and letters mounted flat to the wall or perpendicular to the wall. This is a large wall sign. It is within the total square footage for the site, but it does not fall into these recommended sign areas. These are some pictures of adjacent signage, which, as you can see, all of the other signs are blade signs or wall signs coming off of the walls. The wall sign is constructed of reinforced hemmed vinyl and is inside a larger metal frame. And the owner is proposing to keep the current signage and replace it approximately every 2 years to prevent it from becoming worn out. So that concludes staff's report.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
And the applicant is available.
Can you read for us the action that we took previously on this case? Can you actually read?
I don't have the minutes in front of me, but I believe it was just that the sign was approved of, but that y'all had concerns about the durability of it. and gave him 120 days to come back with a permanent sign proposal.
I'm not sure. My name is Troop Crossland. I'm the business owner. I'm not sure. Would it be appropriate for me to speak?
Yeah, hang on one second if you would, please. We'll open it for public
Yes, sir.
comment.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Any other questions for staff? All right, hearing none, we'll open for public comment. Mr. Crossland, feel free to go ahead and speak.
So from our last meeting, my understanding was that the board is content with the aesthetics of the sign, but was concerned of its durability. My concern with the location is simply that I don't think I'm at the rate I am growing. If I'm not allowed to, at the end of my lease in 4 years, get the downstairs also, then I'm going to have to move out. Well, I looked into getting a permanent sign made, and it was going to be relatively expensive to spend for somewhere I may only be 4 more years. So my thought process that I presented to Mr. Johnson, who's not here today, was if the concern is the durability, and I'm not sure as to whether I'm going to be here in 4 years, can I just replace the sign, say, every year or every 2 years, and with a sign that looks identical, just a new one, if we're concerned about it fading or whatnot, and we call that good till I can find out if this is going to be my company's permanent home. I hope I explained that succinctly.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Crossland? All right. Any other member of the public would like to speak to this case? All right, hearing none, then we'll close the public hearing portion and open it for board discussion. Does anyone have any comments or questions?
My comment is that if we approve this measure, then we're basically changing the sign ordinance downtown to say, unless I'm misunderstanding, that we're going to allow businesses to do a series of temporary signs for as long as they want to. So we're going to do signs that may last a year, they may last 2 years. So really, it's no longer a permanent sign ordinance. We're approving a series of temporary signs as a permanent solution to their signage problem or issue. And I understand this particular case, but I also think that it becomes a precedent that we can't deny others this same strategy.
Does staff recall the discussion or issues when the sign was first, the She Magazine sign was first put up there, how that came to be, and whether this board weighed in on that?
That, I do recall it, although it was during Philip Lookadoo's tenure, and I think he was the one that handled it. But I do know that because they changed it out every month, it was treated more as public art because of the nature of their cover of their magazine, and that it was a commissioned art piece that they put on the front of their magazine every month. And I do know it was rotated out every month because of that, and treated somewhat as public art to some degree. I do recall that discussion.
I guess, Mr. Collins, I hear what you're saying. And my concern for this particular building is if you don't have a sign like this, it almost breaks up the wall of that building on Irby Street, which is not very, I don't know what the word is, doesn't have a whole lot of detail to it. Is that a more appealing? And I don't know,
I guess, not to be redundant, I guess my concern is the precedent.
Could we propose a requirement that he replaces it every 12 months, no matter what?
And I should know this, but does the sign meet the size requirements?
It does for, yes,
It does meet.
for the district, both the underlying and the historical district.
is staff's concern the material or the location of the sign, or how would you characterize staff's concern with the sign?
I think the primary concern is the material. Temporary signs throughout the city are permitted for a duration of time, like banners and streamers and things of that nature are typically only permitted for 30 days. I can't really think of any exceptions to that in the underlying zoning code, where we would allow something in the nature of a banner at any site in the location to be put up, unless it was a material that, was proven to be a permanent type material. So yes, I think it's the durability of it and the nature of it.
I'm just trying to think through this. So let's say the board said no. What's going to happen to this big square thing on the side of the building? Right? I mean, this applicant didn't put the square thing there. It's not their building.
I see what you're saying.
I mean.
Yeah, I mean, technically, abandoned signs are supposed to be removed. So if the sign was abandoned, it would need to be removed. If something more permanent could be affixed in that location, or more durable, and permanent, then it would fall within the guidelines.
Would it be appropriate for me to speak?
Sure.
Reached out to my sign because what I was ask him the first time we made the sign. I think I just lost video. Can y'all still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The first time we made the sign, obviously the pricing also involved the design of the sign and that sort of thing. So I reached out to him saying, if I was to just have you reprint this sign again every year, what would it cost me? And he told me I was foolish to do it every year. It would easily, the hemmed fabric it's made out of, he's like, it will last well over a year. He's like, you only need to do it every 3 or 4 years. To which I responded, that won't be appropriate. Maybe I can ask them if I can do it every 2 years. So I don't believe that the material the sign is made out of is of such fragility that if I agree to replace it every year or every 2 years, I don't think, it's been up for 8 months so far. And while I may be biased, it has not degraded at all. It's still, it has not faded or become ragged. There's not a rent in it. It still looks like it did the day it was put up. Approximately 8 months, might be closer to 9 now, but I don't believe it is as fragile as I think I am hearing it being thought of. That's all.
I guess, Mr. Collins, I was reading the guideline, and it talks about the following materials are recommended. Doesn't say required, recommended, which I think we all consider to be a pretty strong recommendation based on our, past review of this. But are we really making an exception to the material, or not an exception, but just choosing something that's not on the recommended list to the material rather than approving temporary signage?
I guess my point is, in the future, if someone else wants to do this exact same thing, there is no reason that we should not allow it if we allow this. And so if we're prepared to have a downtown full of fabric banners as our permanent signage, then we should approve it. If we don't, then we should not approve it. I don't see anything that, other than the fact that this is already here, I don't see anything that makes this particular location a unique situation that would preclude us from, approving every one. If that's where we're heading with this, then that would become added to the list of allowed, or heck, we might as well make it recommended.
Do any of the other board members have any comments? Okay. Is there either a motion to approve or to disapprove the application?
Chairman, how long did Mr. Crossen say he had left on his lease? 3 years?
I believe you said 4.
It was 4.
I understand what Mr. Collins is saying, and I agree with what he's saying. I just would, but I also understand the position that Mr. Crossen is in. Wish there were something that we could do, but as Mr. Collins says, I don't know how we could some kind of variance or something special held to in the future.
Mr. Karsten,
Yes, sir.
what do you think about this?
I think if we approve it, we're opening the door to some things we might not want presented to our board in the future. But I think we could possibly approve it if we put a time frame on it. And we could put a time frame of 24 months.
You mean to allow the sign to remain for some period of time and then be removed and replaced by
By a certain period of time, yes.
approved material, or you mean just to have this replaced every 24 months?
Just to have this sign replaced every 24 months.
Can we, what does the board think about approving the sign as is, but putting a drop dead end of it, forget about replacing or whatever, to allow the business owner to recoup the value of whatever they've paid for this existing sign, but knowing that it's not approved forever, whatever that number is, 6 more months, a year, whatever we think is reasonable, after which time it has to be either taken down or replaced by something that's on the approved list. All right, well, we got to get moving somehow on this. So
Somebody make a motion?
somebody make a motion, and then we can either vote it up or down.
Well, I'll make a motion that we can have this presented, that he can keep the sign up for the next 24 months, but then it has to be replaced for the next remaining 24 months of his lease.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
I second it.
All right, there's a second to that motion. So any further discussion, that means that the sign that's there now could remain, assuming it stays in good condition, I suppose. until September of 2022, at which point it is no longer approved. Is that, am I stating the motion accurately? Is that,
That's correct.
Mr. Collins, is that what you?
I thought he was gonna have to I thought he was gonna replace it with the same sign. I thought that's what, Jamie was saying.
I am. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, so after 2 years, he can replace it with the same sign. Therefore, he could have effectively this signage style up for 4 years. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, is there any further discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so we'll issue the certificate. The sign is only valid through the current term of the current lease, and it must be replaced in 2 years and then removed at the end of the lease. Is that? Okay. All right.
Can we make one kind of clarification on that? That at the end of this lease, this temporary frame has to be removed.
Okay. I'm fine with that. Mr. Carson, are you okay with that?
I am perfectly fine with that.
All right, Mr. Tedder?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We quit talking about this thing at one
Yeah.
time. Eventually,
In 4 years, or if the lease ends sooner.
good.
Is that, everybody okay with that? Okay. All right, the next matter before us is DRB case number 2020-26. This is the tax map number 90089-01-010, 702 South Coit Street. This property is located in the D1 Downtown Redevelopment Overlay District. We'll take staff's report.
Thank you. Share my screen here. All right. All right, the applicant is seeking a certificate of appropriateness to remove 3 mature trees from this property, which happens to be the local office of the Boy Scouts of America. It is located at the corner of South Coit Street and DeJong Street in just opposite of Timrod Park area. And this is an aerial of the parcel, and it's, as you can see, it's about a 1.5 acre parcel. The trees that they want to remove are circled in blue. One is in the middle of the parking lot behind the building, and then 2 and 3 are, and they're all mature pecan trees. And 2 or 3 line the driveway along South Coit Street. And then they have been having problems with these trees dropping limbs and causing hazards. In fact, I've got a picture in here that he sent me today that yesterday during a little bit of wind and rain we had, it dropped a very large limb right in the middle of the driveway. And the city arborist has been out to look at these trees, and she recommended that they should be removed because they are mature and they are starting to lose limbs. And they have mitigated over the last several years, as you can see in the yellow circle in this picture. They have planted 7 live oaks in recent years. This is the entrance from South Coit Street, and the picture on the right is the front of the building from South Coit, showing the 2 trees that are causing the issues for them. The tree on the left is the pecan tree in the back parking lot, and then 2 and 3 are the ones on the right there. This morning, or this is from yesterday, the tree on Coit Street dropped this very large limb, as you can see, kind of punctuating the problems they're having with these trees. The tree one in the parking lot does present a fall hazard to cars and the building. They've got broken branches and there's disease on the tree that the arborist has pointed out. The entrance tree number 2, all the growth is on one side of the tree. They're missing, and it's missing a large section that fell off. And as you saw, another big piece fell off yesterday. There's bark scaling, and it is also causing the sidewalk to buckle. And then the tree number 3 has the large branch that broke off and temporarily blocked South Coit Street recently, and again has similar problems. As well, the property owner has given them as tenants the authority to ask permission to remove these trees. And these are some of the live oak trees that have been planted in recent years, and they're along the perimeter of that parcel. And then we have letters from 2 property owners, from Mr. Finkley on one side, and he says he has no objection to remove them. And then from the other side, Dr. Jones from the Florence Periodontal Group has also written saying he has no problem with taking them down. The first branch of the tree narrowly missed power lines landing on the side of his building. And there are about 28 trees on this 1.5 acre lot, which is more than would be required if they were to have a totally blank parcel and be required to plant trees on it, lot trees. So the trees on site will not be placed in the prescribed locations of the current zoning ordinance that do exceed the number of trees required in the Unified Development Ordinance. About 18 would be required, and even after removal of these 3, they'll have 28. The city arborist confirmed that the 3 pecan trees are in high danger and that will continue to decay and deteriorate, leading to more limb failure with possible property damage and risk to people who might be walking below. And that concludes staff's report. And the applicant is available.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? All right. Hearing none, we'll open it for public discussion.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
Michael Hesbach with the PDA Council of Boy Scouts of America. First, I just want to thank Miss Elaine, who has helped us over the last 3 years that I've been here with the other trees that we removed from our property. Your staff report cites some other previous work that she has done with some administrative COAs. 3 of those trees, actually their removal allowed us to regrade part of our property and prevent building flooding that occurred every time we had a significant rainstorm. We did receive a COA for a cedar tree that's located on the back corner of our building. We did not cut that tree down after consulting with the local arborist, our tree removal company. We did shape it up. Well, I think there's no dispute from the city arborist removing the 3 trees. Our primary reason to be here is just to discuss again the significant number of trees that we have on our property, either through remediation in the last 2.5 years and already existing on the property. If you count the linear foot of road frontage we have between Coit and DeJong, we do meet the 1 per 50, although it's not 1 tree 50 foot, 1 tree 50 foot. We do meet the 1 per 50 on the street frontage because we did place most of those trees along the frontage. When we were asked to remediate with the replacing of 3 trees, then 2 trees, I initially chose to place them as far away from my building as I possibly could and still be within the road setbacks and on our property. So in 15, 20 years, DeJong is going to have some really nice tree scaping. Right now they're rather small, but we do request that the group not require us to plant any more trees. When you look at a live oak, the instructions say that you should have a 20-foot perimeter in all directions to prevent the damage to structures and paving and parking. And across our frontage of our building along Coit Street, you can't get 20 foot anywhere and plant a canopy tree within that danger zone that's going to cause future damage. So we would ask that the design require trees if you cut down these 3 trees that are clearly.
Thank you. All right, any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll open it for board discussion. I guess my view is that I've got no problem with the trees going if the arborist says so, but I don't know that we've ever not had remediation or looked backwards to consider remediation requirements before. I understand the issue with large canopy trees in that area, but surely there's some kind of understory tree or something that could be put there, but I don't know, maybe the rest of the board feels differently about that.
How recently were the most recent trees planted?
Within the last 3 years.
Any additional comment or questions from board members?
There are none. I'll go ahead and make a motion that we issue the certificate to have the 3 trees removed.
And what about, what's your position on remediation?
With the inventory of trees that this lot already has, I don't see any need to place any more there.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve the application as submitted. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Mr. Tedder seconded the motion. All right, any further discussion? All right, again, the only reason I'm opposed to it is the remediation issue, but I'm certainly not opposed to the removing of the trees. All right, any further discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Nay. All right, we'll issue the certificate. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, the next matter before us, DRB case number 2020-27. This is a request for certificate of appropriateness to demolish 2 buildings on North Coit Street. Staff has requested that this be deferred to the October meeting. Is that still the case?
Yes, sir. The Historical Commission will meet next because of the way the Mondays fall this month. They don't meet until next Monday, so we wanted to have a clear answer from them.
Okay. Any objection from the board about deferring that case until next month?
None.
All right, we'll defer that case. Any other business we need to take up? All right,
Mr. Chairman,
we'll adjourn. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Mr. Taylor.
I would like to bring something up. I don't know how much discussion needs to be in this time we have to discuss, but I would like to bring it to the table. Not now, then maybe in the future. I think a lot of you are aware of the sign issues that we had last week at the 400 block of Evans and Worley. And I think it finally hit the news. Now, I'm not 100%, but I believe the city's position there was that they couldn't do anything about it. If you're not familiar with the sign, it was a political sign, which everybody's entitled to their opinions, but it was done with some very vulgar language that I certainly wouldn't want my young children to be walking past and seeing that kind of language up in the downtown business, nor would I want the Cloud or any of our other vital businesses that are down here courting somebody, and to see something like that. I think we've worked very hard and have been very successful at really doing a lot of positive things downtown. And I guess my question is does anybody know, was that the city's position that, I'm sitting here looking out my window downtown, if I want to put up a vulgar sign in my window, is it my right to do that? Or is it something that the city needs to address?
Go ahead.
Yeah. David, from a zoning standpoint, I can't regulate it. I did turn it over to codes enforcement. We do have some codes on record that prohibit, I think the word is profane display or profane images. To be honest, I'm not sure where that landed with codes. I'd be glad to follow up with them. I had ridden by, I guess, late last week and didn't see the sign, so I was not aware it was back up. But I will follow up with codes and see where we are with that, or see if there was a challenge to it.
It is down. I think it stayed up for approximately 5 days, 6 days. Actually went up and down a couple different times. I just don't want to, in the future, it's not, if it is profane, that was certainly profane.
Right.
Mr. Tedder, I'm not familiar with this. Where was this sign?
It was at the corner block of 400 and Evans, Burley and Evans. It was a Is that a picture of the sign?
Yeah.
Yeah, Elaine was showing me a sign. Apparently, there's a new sign up today.
This was yesterday.
Or yesterday. Yeah.
So the vulgar language was completely spelled out over 3 days. And I think when codes addressed it, he went in and whited out the Q and the C. So we had the F and the K, which, and that stayed up for a day and a half or whatever. But it seemed like, and I don't know, maybe codes took care of it and they, look, that's a profane language that is like right here.
I'll follow up with codes for sure and see where we are, and I'll give you a call back and report back to the board as well.
And Mr. Dudley, maybe you can send Mr. Tedder I remember 6 months or a year ago, we had a case where a business wanted to put signage inside their window, but it basically qualified for exterior signage. And I don't remember the details of it, but there was some ordinance. So maybe that would be helpful, Mr. Tedder, just to kind of see what's on the books as far as when a temporary internal posted sign can become regulated.
Yeah.
And I remember that, and I remember the point that I made was I don't care how a sign is mounted. If it's mounted on the outside of the glass or the inside of the glass, that's signage, and that's an exterior sign if it signs from the outside.
Mhm.
So I don't know why a piece of glass is going to be the difference between an interior sign and an exterior sign.
Right. But, and that's right, from a zoning standpoint, we can regulate size and location and things of that nature, but not content, obviously. But being from Horry County and growing up in the Myrtle Beach area, I do know a bit about, profane things being posted in windows, and I know it's been a battle for that community for years, so maybe we could see what they've got on the books and glean from them as well. Because they seem to have gotten it under control in some areas.
All right. Thanks for bringing that up, Mr. Tedder. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'll give you a call back, David, and when I find out something, to let you know.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Any other business we need to take care of? All right. Hearing none, we'll adjourn until October 14th. Thank you.